In this video, we're going to take a look at the first 5 problems from the 2014 released SOL. So this is problem 1. It says, look at the graph function below. Based on the zeros, which best represents the graph function? So it's always a good idea with these word problems to see what we're supposed to find, which best represents the graph function. So in order to solve this problem, you need to know what this word zeros means. So there are 4 words that we see that all mean the same thing. So we have zeros. My favorite one is x-intercepts. The other 2 words we have are roots and solutions. So whenever you take a test, especially like the SOL, they can use any 4 of these words. And whenever we're given a graph, it's easiest to see the solutions from the x-intercepts. So we see we have x-intercept, that's where it crosses the x-axis. So we have 2 x-intercepts in this problem, or 2 solutions, 2 roots, 2 zeros. And that's where x is equal to 1 and where x is equal to 3. Now, our answers here are in factored form. So remember, whenever we find the factors, we have to flip the signs. So that means our graph should look something like x minus 1. So I change this plus 1 to a minus 1. And I change this positive 3 to a minus 3. So if we had zeros, x-intercepts, roots, or solutions that were negative, we would flip the signs to make them positive. So whenever I look at my potential answers, the only one that has the x minus 1 and x minus 3 is letter D. So it also has this 2 out there, but that's okay. It's still going to be the correct answer. If you're still not sure how to do it like this, one other method that we have is we can use our graphing calculators to help us out. If I go to y equals, I can just graph all of these things. So I'm going to graph the one that is the correct answer, which is D. So we have x minus 3 and x minus 1. So I went to y equals to bring this up, and I just typed it in. And then whenever I hit graph, I see that this is the right graph. There's my zeros at x equals 1 and x equals 3. If I put in any of these other ones that is an incorrect answer, let's just say, just to double check it, we'll try letter A, which is the wrong answer. If we try, let's clear it out, x minus 3 and 2x plus 2, I will get a graph that is not the same thing. So if you're not sure how to do this, you can always use that graphing function to help you out. Let's take a look at number 2. So it says Travis would like to buy some toys and donate to charity. He plans to buy $9 at D each, 2 toy cars at C each, and 3 train sets at T each. So here's our word again. By the way, which is the word that will pop up most on the SOLs. Which expression represents the total cost in dollars of these items that Travis wants to buy? So this is pretty straightforward. He plans to buy $9 at D, so that's just 9D. 2 toy cars at C, so it's plus 2C. And lastly, he plans to buy 3 train sets, so plus 3T. So that's how much he's going to spend. And if we look at our answers, it'll just be letter C. Keep moving on to problem number 3. This says which expression is equivalent to, and we have this here, so here's our keyword again, which. Assume the denominator does not equal 0. So the easiest way to do this is to first just break it up. So we have 18 over 9, that's just equal to 2. And we see that we have C's here. So with exponents, the one thing I told you to remember in class was this acronym. Let me write it on the right so I have a little bit more room. MADSPAN. So I said whenever you multiply exponents, you add them. So the M and the A go together. When you divide them, you subtract them. The D and the S go together. And whenever you have a power of a power, you multiply them. So the p and the m go together. So we are dividing c to the 8th over c cubed. So that means we have to divide, subtract them. So we subtract the 8 minus 3, and we get c to the 5th. And we're also dividing our d's. So we have d to the 9th over d to the 6th, which is d to the 9 minus 6, because we're, again, dividing, so we have to subtract those numbers, so it's d to the 3rd. So when we bring them all together, we just get 2 c to the 5th and d to the 3rd, which is a. Another way that we've gone over in class that you can check this by using the calculator is to use the storage button. So the storage button is found right above the on key, and we have to store some numbers. So if we take a look at what we have here, let's store, remember the numbers we don't want to store are 0 and 1. So let's just store c is equal to 2 and d is equal to 3. So how we do that is we hit 2 STO, and we have to type in the letter C. So to do that on our calculator, we type in 2, and then we press this STO button, and then we hit alpha, and the C is going to be the program button. So we have 2, and we store it as C. So anytime we hit C, it comes up as 2. If I want to do anything with it, let's say I want to do C plus 3, it's just going to do 2 plus 3, it's going to come out as 5. And let's store D is equal to 3, so we're going to hit 3 STO D. So we're going to do that, 3 STO, and then alpha, and the D is right there. So these keys should be, I believe, green on your calculator. So again, anytime I press the D, it comes up as a 3. So I can type in this entire expression right here. To bring up the fraction bar, we hit alpha, y equals enter. If you are using an older calculator, you have to put in a lot of parentheses. So 18 c, and then we hit the exponent 8. So 18 c to the 8th, alpha d to the 9th, over, so I just hit down to go to the denominator, 9c to the 3rd, and then we have d to the 6th. And then I hit enter, and I get 1728. Doesn't really matter what I get. I need to check all of these options and to see which one gets me 1728. So if I try A, 2c to the 5th, make sure you hit the right button, d to the 3rd, you see I get the exact same thing. If I try something else, like let's try letter D, you'll see that this won't work. So 9c to the 11th, d to the 15th. When I try this, I get a huge number. It's definitely not 1728. So that's one way you can do it if you forget the rules of MathSpam or even just want to check it. That's one option that you have. So this is going to be problem number 4. So it says click on a box to choose each expression you want to select. You must select all correct expressions. So what we're told to do is click on a box. So this is a little bit different in TestNav. So it says identify each expression that is a factor of the polynomial. So whenever we factor, the first thing we always want to do is check for a GCF, or greatest common factor. And this one does have a greatest common factor. If I look at 4x squared minus 2x minus 2, they're all divisible by 2. So that means I'm going to have 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, or yeah, it's 2, so it's going to be 2 times 2x squared minus 2 over 2 will get me minus x, and minus 2 over 2 will get me minus 1. So right away I know that 2 is a factor. The other thing that I need to do now is I need to see if this factors. 2x squared minus x minus 1. There's a lot of different ways we talked about factoring. Probably the easiest way, if you get your calculator out, and we go to apps, we talked about using this number 4, the PLY-SMLT2. And we're going to go to 1, the poly root finder, and just hit next. And it's already in standard form. So we do 2, -1, and -1. So we're putting in the coefficients, which are 2, -1, and the constant, which is -1. And then whenever we hit solve, we get a couple things out. So we should be thinking, remember, whenever we factor, we have to flip the sign. So it's x minus 1, and we should have x plus 1/2. One other thing we need to remember is that we shouldn't have a fraction here. So to avoid the fraction, we should put that 2 out in front. So this is going to be 2x plus 1, and the other factor is x minus 1. So the three factors I should have, 2, which I already selected, x minus 1, which is right there, and 2x plus 1, which is this first one. So that should be my answer. There's a lot of other ways to factor. If you want to review those, you can go back to the videos we had in factoring, which was Unit 8, I believe. Actually, it was Unit 7. So this is going to be the last problem we'll do in this video. This is problem number 5. And it says, which model correctly represents the product x plus 3 and x plus 4? So this is one that you could probably see pretty easily. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, and 1, 2, 3. So we have the 3 and the 4. So our answer is going to be D. If this doesn't sit well with you, remember one way that we talked about multiplying these. We called it the box method. So we had x plus 3 and x plus 4. So it's 4 multiplication problems. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is plus 3x. 4 times x is plus 4x. And 4 times 3 is plus 12. So when we bring these together, these are like terms here, we have 7x. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 12. And it should be clear to see that the x squared is this box right here, because that's what our key says. And if we look at 7x, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 of these. So we have 7x. And lastly, we have the plus 12, which is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And each of those is just a 1. So we talked about algebra tiles, something you should have seen definitely earlier in your schooling career. So that's going to be it for this video. Check back for the other ones to look to see how to do the other problems.